Okay, so I'm just going to go with this. All right, so they want to talk about my entrepreneurial journey, but before I do that, I'd like to know how many entrepreneurs there are in the audience. Past, present, maybe future. Right, perfect. So it's a perfect audience. So one of the things I wanted to know was, someone can throw this out. What is an entrepreneur? Who is an entrepreneur? What makes someone an entrepreneur? Anyone want to answer that? Don't be shy. It's okay. You don't bite.
Anybody who takes an initiative to undertake a task and finish it.
Okay, I mean, that's close enough, right? At least my definition for an entrepreneur is someone who has a drive, and that drive is given behind a passion for something, a mission to accomplish something, and that is a drive to go somewhere, right? And that pretty much defines most leaders. Okay, so leaders are people who are able to inspire people around them towards a particular mission, whatever the mission might be, right? And an entrepreneur is just another name for someone who does that inside an organization. At least that's my definition of an entrepreneur. Okay, and there are multiple types of organizations, and a lot of people confuse this between a business versus a startup. Now, I am a startup entrepreneur, and there are also business entrepreneurs. Okay, but can someone tell me the difference between a business versus a startup? It might not be as straightforward. Anyone?
The engine runs by itself and it's in a business.
Sorry?
Startup, you're still cranking the engine. Business, it runs by itself.
Kind of. I mean, a startup can run by itself too. If you have a good enough entrepreneur, he can step out, right? But the difference between a business and a startup is the goal for a business is to make profit. The goal for a startup is growth. Okay, and that's a very big, major difference between a business and a startup. So you need to decide before you start a company, do you want it to be a business or a startup? Okay, before you jump into it. And the reason for that is because you need two different mentalities. And I'm going to give you a startup mentality because that's what I've done so far. And I'm sure others can give you a business mentality because a lot of people have worked on that as well. So my definition and my theory moving forward is mostly towards a startup mentality. Okay, so growth towards something big. And that doesn't mean a startup and business are two separate entities. Okay, Mark Zuckerberg started Facebook with a goal, with a mission to make information transparent and use that transparent information to connect people. That was his mission. And he did that really, really well. He connected over 300 million people. Once he did that, he made his startup into a business. Okay, now Facebook is about making profit. And that's why we see so many ads and so many videos on Facebook, right? So it can change. So you need to be able to transfer between the two different entities. All right, so I'm not sure how many people know Simon Sinek, but I saw a video by him. It's called Start With Why. Okay, and that kind of explained a lot of my entrepreneurial journey. So I'm going to use the same concept to explain how I got where I got today, and hopefully it helps you understand how you can start a company or think more like an entrepreneur. Okay, so first thing is when you meet someone, you're going to be able to ask them, what their name is, and you say, okay, great. Let's say I meet a person named Sam. Say, hey Sam, what do you do? And he says, I'm in IT. I'm not a big fan of IT, so I'm like, great. That doesn't interest me, but awesome. I go to someone else and say, hey Frank, what do you do? He says, I build apps. I say, okay, that's a little more my type of thing. So what type of app do you build? I said, I build an app. It's an Uber for walking dogs. Interesting concept. I said, okay, how do you do that? He said, I bring a lot of people who want to walk dogs, and I take them to people who don't have time to walk their dogs. So great. So most people stop the conversation there. As an entrepreneur, I keep going. I say, why? Right? Why do you want to do this? Well, and if he's a good entrepreneur, he'll be able to answer that question. He's going to say, that was a pain point that I had, and I created a solution to fix that problem. All right? If you're a bad entrepreneur, you have a blank stare at me and say, I want to make money. Right? So, like I said, this is primarily for the startup side. So he had a mission, he had a pain point, and he fixed it. And that was his drive. Right? Money was not his drive. And so, you need to be able to determine that. What makes a better entrepreneur is rather than going from what, how, and then eventually to why, you want to start with the why. Okay, if you're able to do that, you are a much better entrepreneur. For instance, I'll start my journey. I was a good high school student. How was a good high school student? Because I studied much harder than my friends. Okay, and that made me a good high school student. If I went back to myself 10 years ago and asked him, why were you a good high school student? My answer would have been, I want to get to a good college. I want to get a good job, get married, have a house. I want to settle. How many people have heard that term, settle? Right? Or how many people have used that term, settle? Right? My parents used to say, Mahesh, get married. It's time for you to settle. Right? For me, it has a bad connotation. Because to me, every time you hear the word settle, I think, they want me to give up? Right? It's like, should I be happy with what I have and not go for any further? Because that's what settling to me is. Right? It's like, okay, I'm happy with everything I have, and I don't need to go any further. Right? And I don't know if it's a cultural thing, or if it's just, my parents' generation that does this, and maybe my grandparents don't do it. But somewhere down the line, even in our Indian culture, we were the leaders in science. We were the leaders in architecture, in mathematics. Heck, we invented the number 0. Right? But somewhere down the line, we started to settle. We said, we were good at this, and we're going to keep it that way. Right? And we just stopped reaching for things. And sometimes, and that, to me, started to decline, our current, culture. And that's sort of where we are right now. We're kind of a slump. And it's very easy to change that mentality. As long as we go back to why, it's very easy to come back to how and what. Okay, and I think right now we're just at what. What do we do and just keep doing it, right? And that's kind of the problem that we have right now. So I don't know how this is going to work because I have a few things here. All right, I'm going to just describe this because now you know the reach that I had. Because I didn't want to settle. I wanted to go somewhere. I wanted to do something better. I wanted to do something bigger than what I had in mind. And this change took place between high school and college. Right, so I had this amazing professor in freshman year, and I went and told him, hey, I wanted to do something better. I wanted to go after something big. And I think it might be, to do with drug development, go after cancer, because a lot of people are being affected by cancer at that time. And he said, great, come sit down, let's talk. You're a freshman now. How are you going to get there? And so there are multiple ways I could do that. There are multiple ways I could impact people. And it's not, you can't be able to see it here, but I could have started an IT company. I could have started I could have become a doctor. I could have become a professor. I could have found many ways to actually impact people, right? But I decided to go after a biotech company. And the reason for that is biotech has one of the highest failure rates in all industries. Okay, 1 in 1,000 drugs get to patients. That's horrendous. If you've got one thing gets there, every time you make something, people are going to give up very quickly. But that actually was my drive. I wanted to create that one drug that gets to people, that gets to market. Okay, and how I'm going to do it, that's going to be the rest of my life. The rest of the way I'm going to de-risk moving forward. Okay, how many people have heard the word de-risk? Some people. If you raised any money from any investor, you'll hear this word. De-risk. Okay, it's a favorite word, and it's starting to be my most hated word. Okay, because I keep hearing it over and over again. But I realized this is what I've been doing pretty much all my life. I just didn't know how to term for it. Okay, until I met some of the investors. So when a professor said, "Let's sit down and figure out a map for you to get to where you want to get to," he said, "Here you are as a freshman, and you want to start you want to discover a drug to go help people eventually. How are you going to get there?" And I realized academia might be too slow, so I don't want to really, take the academic route. I realized, industry might not take me there as fast either. So I told him, maybe I'll start a company around it. I said, okay, great. That's one point in your life. You're going to start a company. What do you need to start a company? Money, an idea. Great. There are 2 more points in your life. Here's the idea, here's your money. And he pretty much gave me 5 points in my life. Freshman year, idea, money, company, get to patients, right? And he said, now get out of my office, fill out the rest, okay? And that's pretty much what I did freshman year. I figured out what I needed to do to get all these 5 points in my life, right? And that was a process of de-risking. He told me, you don't need to have, you You can have 5 steps, you can have 100 steps, you can have 1,000,000 steps. But as long as you have a step to move forward to, that's one step closer to your goal. And that's one more step in de-risking that one drug that's going to get to patients out of 1,000. And that was pretty much my goal. And since then, everything I've done was kind of going towards this pathway. So I realized staying in college for too long was going to bankrupt me because it was like $50,000 a year, too many loans. So I tried to figure out a way to get out of college as fast as I can, right? And what I did was I became went from pre-med towards history, and it was the worst thing to my parents. So like, how could you be a history major? What are you going to do with history, right? But my plan was that helped me get out of college in 2.5 years, right? So that helped me save time. It helped me save money. That was all I was focused on. They were focusing on the degree. That's fine, right? Because I was going to go. Because I realized I need to go back and do something bigger anyway in terms of studying. So I said, okay, I'm going to go back to grad school. And in grad school, I go somewhere bigger and do something that's more oriented towards getting a cancer drug out there. And so I went into biotechnology. So I did my master's in biotech at UPenn, an amazing program, an amazing school. But now I just had a biotech degree that wasn't really going much towards cancer. So while I was there, I decided, let me do some research. And in the research, a new field, not a new field, but an emerging field was coming by called immunotherapy. The ability to use a patient's own immune system to attack diseases. And I used this concept and said, okay, I'm going to write a master's thesis around this. And I'm going to use that to figure out how to kill cancer cells. And that became my master's thesis. So now, not only have my research background, I had an idea going towards cancer. Right? Next step was, I didn't know how to start a company. So I was like, okay, let me try to figure out how to start a company. So went to consulting, started consulting for a few startups around Philadelphia area, learned how to raise money, how to build teams, how to build a product, and eventually how to get the product to market. So now I had a way to start a company, I know how to build a company. But I still didn't know anything about the industry. So finally, I went to GSK and decided, okay, maybe they'll teach me something. So I learned what they knew, what they didn't know, what their competitors knew, what their competitors didn't know. And so finally, I was able to figure out, okay, now I know the industry, and I also know how to beat the bigger players who can get there faster. Okay, so now I've de-risked my idea as much as I can coming out of college. And this is all pretty much inside college. Right, so now I had a master's degree, I had an idea, I wanted to go do something. But I really didn't want to do it by myself. I realized teams are very, very powerful, especially when you can build them around your idea. So I met a co-founder who had a similar drive, but he was an oncologist, and his background was all in research. So I said, you know what, let's join teams. I'll take the business side, you take the research side. That way we can split our duties, and both of us share the same goal. We built an entire team around us two to help us discover and develop a drug towards cancer cells. And that's kind of how PepFlex came about. So we started this in 2013, and the idea was to go after late and aggressive forms of cancers. So right now our focus is on triple-negative breast cancer and glioblastoma multiforme, 2 cancers that currently have no drugs in the market. And we want to go after them as fast as we can and with something as strong as we can. And at this point, I think we figured out how to do it. But what we needed was money to actually get it there, right? Drug development, a lot of people don't realize, is billions of dollars of investment needed. Okay, so we need to raise a lot of money to get there. And so I went to an investor with just an idea, and I said, hey, I have this amazing idea. I need your money. And he laughed me out of the office and said, come back with a product. I was like, all right, great. So I put some of my own money in. My co-founder put some of his own money in. We built a product. Went back to him and said, hey, give me some more money. He said, hey, give me some data. All right, fine. Put some more money in. And then, did some lab data. Took that data back to him and said, hey, now I have data. Give me some more money. He said, cool, start de-risking. I had no idea what he meant, right? So for about 1.5 years, every investor kept saying, de-risk it, de-risk it. I'm like, what are you guys talking about? I don't know what this means, right? And then eventually one investor sat me down and said, all they mean is take it one step closer. I was like, someone could explain this much easier, right, than saying just de-risk this. So we wasted about 1.5 years trying to figure out what de-risking was, but eventually raised enough money at that time to de-risk this a little bit by doing some animal experiments. And unfortunately, we did the animal experiments in terms of safety, because I thought, hey, drugs should be safe, so let's look at safety first. So I said, hey, I have this amazing data, and it's really, really safe. An investor came back and said, cool, how do you know it works? I was like, I don't yet. I need some money for that. He said, I can't give you money. So we went around. Finally, we found someone else who was willing to put money in the safety data of it, just enough to give us the efficacy data. And that's kind of where we are now. Okay, so we've been able to create a safety profile around the drug. We've been able to create some efficacy data around the drug, just enough to say it works, right? And the next step is to take this into humans. So finally, I went back to the investor and I asked him, look, I've got everything I can. I've de-risked this as much as I can. I need your money. And he finally gave me his money, right? So it took me about 5 years to get this guy to give me some money. But along the way, thank you. Along the way, I de-risked this so much that now we are about 1 in 10 chance of getting into patients, right? So it increases about 100 times from where I was back in freshman year, right? But it's still a hard chance. It's still 1 in 10. It's 1 in 10% chance of getting there, but it's still better than where I was before. And that is kind of the steps we kind of have to take towards our goal. Every time we get a goal, and we're able to find all the steps in between to get there, and like I said, it doesn't matter how many steps it takes, as long as you're able to create a plan for yourself. And this is kind of what investors call a business plan. Okay, they said, how do you de-risk this so you can get it to market? Because all they care about is money, unfortunately, right? But I still need their money to make my drug. Okay, so as long as you're able to build the set of rules to yourself and say, here's the next step, it doesn't matter how I'm going to get there, but I'm going to get there, you will be able to succeed, and you'll be able to de-risk the process as much as you can to the point where you're going to get a product, an idea, a mission to the people you want to get it to. Okay, so if there's a big takeaway, it's really understand where you want to go and understand who you want to be, either a business startup or a startup. But then create a nice timeline for yourself and create a step of or list of steps for you to get there. And there are a few resources, and I'm happy to email this out to you guys as well. There's my contact list, but I would definitely recommend people to look at the Simon Sinek video because that really changed my life, per se. I mean, I only saw it a few years ago, so it didn't really change what I was doing in my life, but it changed how I looked at my life. And also a few good books here that I think every entrepreneur, either present, current, past, present, or future, should be reading, because I really wish I had these books when I started the company. It really helped guide me through a lot of things that I can do now, and also have really good advice on how to start startups. So, again, hope you enjoyed the talk. I really appreciate you guys listening to me. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. Thank you, Mahesh.
So as a freshman, you had multiple steps that you foresee. That's really great. Not many people does that at that age, and anybody settles now, they're going to always get a kick in the back, I guess, when they hear about settle. So thank you for a great speech, and the insights that you have given. Simon is a great speaker. I really love him. He's a great speaker too. So I would like to call upon Usha Krishna Kumar for giving a moment for Mahesh for the great speech. Thank you so much.